I absolutely love Mortal Kombat. I love the characters, I love the stages, I love the stories. Well, actually not really. I remember playing this game when I was like 5 years old, fighting my brother or my dad, and my dad would always let me win, but my brother did everything in his power to annoy the absolute hell out of me. But growing up playing this game, it introduced me to video game gore at a young age. Hell, my main source of entertainment at the time was Minecraft and Teen Titans Go. So going from Robin making fart jokes to seeing Freddy Krueger taking my favorite character to hell did kinda take a toll on little 5-year-old pre-brain. But I still really did enjoy the game and the franchise as a whole, and even now I still love Mortal Kombat. And although I have very mixed feelings about the newer games, I still loved playing the story modes in arcade towers. Something else I do enjoy though is my Discord server, which y'all should definitely go join. At 100 members, I'll start doing more events and I'll post pictures of my cat and my dogs there, so go join. Anyways, I'm not here to talk about how much I love Mortal Kombat. I'm going to be talking about a part of Mortal Kombat that has been since forgotten by the players, and mostly the developers. Let's take a trip back in time into 1992, when the first Mortal Kombat released with a collection of characters, stages, and gruesome finishers called fatalities. Now, I'm not going to recap everything about this, as I'm sure you already know a majority of the things in this game. Now, because of the fact that this game used sprites of live actors instead of cartoon anime characters, this gave it a bit more of a realistic look to the fighting, and especially the fatalities, added on with agonizing screams and blood spewing out of them. Now, I was born nowhere near the original games. I only played Mortal Kombat 9, X, 11, and M1K, so I can't really say for certain how I'd feel playing these games in the 90s. Though I will admit, the original trilogy of games has this sort of aesthetic to it that just gives it this sort of creepy feeling to each of the stages. And that OST is absolutely creepy. These give you the feeling of something just being off, in a way. Like you're walking down the street at night, but you feel like someone or something is behind you. Some of this music also includes some screaming and wails in the background that you could just barely make out. Now, I'm no music master, so I won't be fully dissecting the OST of these games, but just know that I listened to a good portion of them while writing the script at night, of course, in a dark room only lit by my blinding white Google Doc open, making my eyes feel like they're melting. And let me tell you, listening to the OST was giving me the chills at my ripe old age of 17. Had me looking behind me every so often, thinking I heard something covered by the music. So I can say for certain this music was making me feel like a 9-year-old in the 90s first booting up a game of Mortal Kombat Trilogy on my old ass PlayStation. But I wasn't around for this, so I can't say for certain how scary this would have actually been. So let's move on to the next few games. Mortal Kombat 4/Gold is pretty mixed in the fan base, but is still pretty creepy. Especially the game over screen where your character is just falling down a deep pit like that one well in the 2017 It movie. And at the bottom of the pit, this happens. Something else that's creepy in this game is the living forest, which screams and laughs at you while you fight in the stage. Something else I found kinda creepy was this map with this creepy blue face on the wall. I can't recall fully what this is, but I think it might be the One Being. Though honestly, Mortal Kombat 4 is a really goofy game. The models and stages are strange enough to make you laugh, so I don't really see the creep factor of this game all too much. But for the next trilogy of games, I can understand why many found them creepy. Deadly Alliance, Deception, and Armageddon had this sort of dark atmosphere to it, and I can't help but say this, but it feels liminal. Ooh, key jingle, key jingle. I know people love that liminal feeling thing, but I'm not here to call it liminal and then move on. These stages and settings are honestly creepy as hell. Just taking away the player characters and seeing these places by themselves kinda gives me the chills in a way. But like how every time I make a video like this, I have to say that this may just be something called hold on. How do I say that? Okay, what? Why am I messing up on this? Canopsia, which is described as an eerie atmosphere surrounding an environment that's usually populated, but is now abandoned or devoid of any life. Shout out to this person who commented that on my GTA 5 only atmosphere video. Next thing I'll point out is that just like in the original trilogy, the 3D era also had a bunch of creepy music that would play on different menus and stages. I could definitely see why these would creep out some 7-year-old in 2000s. Hell, when I was a kid, that one episode of Teen Titans Go where all of them turned into zombies scared the absolute hell out of me. Anyways, back to Mortal Kombat. The first of this trilogy, Deadly Alliance, quite literally starts out with Shang Tsung and Quan Chi teaming up and just killing Liu Kang and Shao Kahn right off the bat. And I'm sure this clip of Liu Kang falling to the floor with blood coming out of his ears had completely dead scared the hell out of a bunch of kids in the early 2000s. And the fact that Liu Kang became a zombie right after this didn't help this at all, as from what I've heard, this did scare a few handfuls of people. Now, moving on from the eerie 3D era games to a new, rebooted era of Mortal Kombat. Hey, no, not you. You aren't even creepy in the slightest. Get out of here. Mortal Kombat 9 or 2011 was the first Mortal Kombat that I actually played, and is probably the creepiest Mortal Kombat game in the franchise. Although this Mortal Kombat doesn't have a creepy sounding OST, the stages still would send a bit of a shiver down my spine as a kid. The Living Forest was probably my least favorite stage. I always hated how these trees looked at me, and I always felt bad for this guy right here with the rice hat. I ever remember once as a kid I had a nightmare about being lost in the forest, and I think either Shang Tsung or Kano started chasing me in the forest, where they then grabbed me and throw me into the mouths of one of these trees. This definitely didn't help with my fear of being alone in the forest or being chased by someone who I know is stronger than me. Oh yeah, also, Kano and Shang Tsung, for doing that to me in my dream as a kid, here's what I gotta say. The Living Forest wasn't the only stage I was scared of. It was also both the rooftop and street stages, mainly because you could see an apocalypse going on in the background, and when I was a kid, I was scared of apocalypse scenarios. But nowadays, I eat that stuff up. But back then, just the thought of some other dimension or realm in this case invading Earth scared the hell out of me. Also, something else I found scary as a kid, which was pretty dumb, was that one dog thing that Shao Kahn had next to his throne. I don't know, I always thought it was gonna jump out at the characters fighting or something. I don't know, it was stupid. Now moving on from stages to the crypt, I've already talked about this in my MK9 was a lovable disaster video. And about the— oh my gosh! Ah crap, man, this is like the third time this thing has done that. You're dragging it at this point like— oh gosh, don't make me say it. The low taper fade. Something else that kind of creeped me out in this game were the fatalities. Seeing all these different characters get ripped apart while they scream in terror and pain absolutely scared me to damn near death. It also creeped me out when I would see my favorite characters, Stryker and Reptile, get these done to them. I even remember once I was playing Stryker and fighting against my brother, and he performed the Freddy Krueger fatality on me, so seeing Stryker get pulled down into some lava and then seeing his blood spew out from it made me run off crying. Now, that's all I have to say about Mortal Kombat 9. Now let's move on to the next game in the franchise, Mortal Kombat X. Mortal Kombat X is definitely the darkest game in the franchise, seeing how it took place right after the 9th game where almost everyone died and the looming threat of an evil fallen elder god. NRS pretty much had no other choice but to make this game as dark and as depressing as possible. But in all honesty, I think MKX is trying way too hard to be scary. Now, I understand why this could be scary to some, but the scare factor just comes off more as one of those kids in middle school who wore hoodies and talked about himself being like some mysterious anime villain. Though something that is pretty scary in this game is the Crypt, which played like one of those old RPG games. I was never really brave enough to go into there and play through it, and I'm still a little creeped out by it. Especially those spider caves. I've got a fear of excessively large insects and cretins like that. The Crypt also felt just very lonely and eerie to walk around in, as there wasn't really anyone around. This is really the only creepy thing I could find for MKX, as everything else about this game is either trying too hard to be scary or just plain edgy, which is the perfect explanation for this game, edgy. But still though, I think it has some of the cooler fight mechanics, especially the sprint mechanic. But let's move on from MKX to Mortal Kombat 11. Mortal Kombat 11 has little to no horror in the game. This entry in the franchise is a lot more colorful and expressive than the rest of the series. This makes it to where this game has nothing creepy about it. And that's why I called this video of Mortal Kombat's Forgotten Horror, as I think in Mortal Kombat 11, the developers just decided to can the whole horror aspect of Mortal Kombat. And the same goes for Mortal Kombat 1, the one that came out in 2023. These two games had nothing to creep you out. Maybe you'll see a messed up fatality, but they won't have the same effect as it if you were to see it when you were like 7. These games just don't have that same creep factor that the others had. Now yes, stages like the Burn to Live living forest and abandoned Shang Tsung's island both give off a bit of a creepy feeling, but it falls flat compared to the other versions of these stages. I'm not trying to say old games good, new games bad, just saying that Mortal Kombat has kind of pushed away from this part of them. The horror factor that made them stand unique compared to other fighting games. Now, really the only thing that makes them unique is the fact that they change their characters' face models every game. Alright, I think that's where I'll end it off. If you liked the video, remember to like, comment, and subscribe to keep me in the algorithm and join my Discord server. And finally, I hope you have a great day or night wherever you are. Bye!